Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Mayooreshwar Rajankar with us as our celebrity. A brief introduction of Dr. Mayur. He has done his bachelor's in life sciences from Karnataka University, Dharwad, and also pursued master's in applied genetics from the same university. Then he moved to National Chemical Laboratory, which is a CSIR institute, for his PhD in biological sciences and did a postdoc at National Center for Biological Sciences, Bangalore, NCBS. And currently is a program manager in InDx program, which is a Government of India initiative located at cCAMP, Bangalore. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. Mayooreshwar at the platform.
Thank you, Dr. Raja. Yeah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
So it is always a pleasure to have conversations about the celebrities, researchers, and their journey. And we always start with our question that how and when you decided that you want to become a researcher.
Yeah. Uh, if I really go back to my childhood, uh, my father was a healthcare worker with the defense forces. He used to run, community healthcare programs in defense campuses. So from childhood, I have been to his offices and used to work on the malaria, and communicable diseases program. And the first inspiration come from my father, who is now retired, and he's a well-established farmer. And but at, he was a first epidemiologist to me, so that if in so um he was, at that time when our parents got their job, there never used to be a graduation, never used to be a priority. They used to get on these, the vocational programs, and then they used to get these jobs. So he was a diploma, but I haven't seen anybody as expert as him in this disease area. Like till today, if you ask him that in this particular season where you will find chikungunya, dengue, and malaria outbreaks, he can tell you right now. So this is what he has done for his life. So, and I have seen microscopes, the big models of mosquitoes, and there are pictures in his office, and that really inspired me. But I would say I was not that great academician at that time. Never a good academician never a good scorer. So, but I was very inquisitive. Every day from childhood. Now coming to my schooling days, I used to get up in the morning. I used to ask very random question to my father. Later, it went on to friends, teacher. So my all teachers till my school days, they always saw that this guy doesn't do well in academics, but he will do definitely something very good because he's very inquisitive about the things. So I will never do a lot of things, but when it comes to science exhibition, I'll prepare something and bring it to the school. So this used to my inspiration, and I never felt that I was lagging behind. Even I was not in the first 10, but rather in the last 10 people. And my inquisitiveness was very different. Everybody remember me like that now, and then still go and meet my teachers. So I get the same impression. And they said, we knew that you're going to do this. So later came when that, a doubt time. There was a doubt in my life. After 10th, I took the science because of my inquisitiveness, and I didn't score well during my 12th standard. So unlike every other academician who, you will see when we scored this and we were, bookworms and other, I was more of an imaginative person and starting putting things together. I used to always see myself doing that. So I scored really less. And I went to my father and said that, I don't want to continue education because everybody asks for the marks and I don't have them. So I said, no, I want to quit it. So that was a point. My father said, no, you go and join the graduation. And also then my mother also came into it that, no, you should graduate because, we have not graduated. So you might understand the value of this. So at a point, I went to the college. I started usual chemistry, botany, zoology education because that's what, I felt the better field for me. I was good at maths and physics. I was better in maths and physics than the biology, frankly speaking. But I ended up choosing chemistry, botany, and zoology. And it was just a search, because what I wanted to do. In terms of, competitiveness, none of my marks stand there. But in terms of, if I say at that time, I was interested in physics and I was good at physics and mathematics. So for the first year, I did not think that, this graduation is working. But from second year, I got two professors. I can also, in fact, three professors, I can say. The personal motivation in my inquisitiveness came from Dr. Jyoti Kavlekar. This is a small time college, Raja Lakshmangowda Science Institute in Belgaum, where I did my biological science graduation. And she was very, she motivated me a lot looking at my inquisitiveness. The two subjects which motivated me a lot is Dr. Mobin. She was my professor of zoology and she taught me genetics. Genetics, the whole process of cross, dihybrid cross, monohybrid cross, and other kind of pedigree analysis and this kind of a Punnett square thing, they inspired me a lot. I did the simple mathematical calculations can come out with such a great result. And when I saw this, I think I decided that day that I want to do something in genetics, in the field of genetics. And then there is one more subject which I really, and I talked with, in my college is botany. And that year it was a taxonomy year for us. So we did a lot of taxonomy work. We had 25 species to identify, and I could identify 100 species in my year. So I just went into the books and started, classifying. And when I go out and I just started. So you might see that inner child of learning but one thing I understood very, very good, that I am a person who organize thoughts, numbers, data in a very well way. This is what taxonomy. And I understand that the basic calculations, the small calculations, they reveal a big secrets. And this motivated me to take a next course. That was a master's in applied genetics. But believe me, it came to me as a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I thought that I'll be doing a lot of dihybrid, monohybrid cross, and then learning a lot of this Punnett square and a little bit of a mathematics and some bioinformatics. Of course, it was a part of my curriculum. But the main emphasis, this was in that time on 2007 and 8. So more emphasis was there on the molecular biology.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned a lot of techniques there in the labs. And I remember myself when there was some experiment where there is the universities in a smaller cities, they are well established, they're good funded. It's just that not everything is centralized. So I took my bike and for some experiment, for 1 month or two, I went to a agriculture college and took a canister of a liquid nitrogen, brought it back to the lab to do our experiments. And that's how, I got, did a lot of experiments in the labs. Well, that was there. After finishing that, I did couple of stints in some places. I wanted to understand more how it works. The only thing I lacked is that I did not wanted to move out of a small pond of a small city so soon. I was not ready for it. So I started a small internship in the genetics department itself. Believe me, in a month of a time, I have almost run a ton of gels, the agarose gels.
Mm-hmm.
And that time it used to be, 2008. These facilities used to be very rare for the, MSc pass outs in these cities. So I said, I got an opportunity. There was a cancer project going on, and we were working on some, breast cancer marker genes. And I ran gel after gel after gel after gel and filled the dustbin. And, it gave me a lot of experience. But the thing is that there was more exposure is required. So I said, I was thinking of moving. So then I started coming to Bangalore, where a lot of institutes are there, and I started meeting scientists here. A lot of scientists, I started following their work, and also I starting understanding. I said, this is a really huge field. I was introduced to really different world. The MSc itself was a big, shock to me that, oh, this is the genetics. The Punnett square is not the only thing. There is a lot to it. And then I started attending seminars whenever I came here and attended a lot of places, then went back and continued my internship. Still was not getting any opportunities to get into the science, but I kept coming to JNCSR, ISC, and NCPS to give my interviews. At one point, I moved to the Belgaum. Actually, I was in the Harvard University. Then I moved to Belgaum, and I worked in a small hospital. It was not a small hospital. I worked under heart surgeon in the medical facility. So they were working on a medical problem where they wanted to correlate H. pylori with pylori infection with a pathogenic island to a ischemic heart disease, especially in the CAPG patient. This is a bypass patient, basically. So there I have learned a lot of, working in a BSL-3 lab. BSL-2 lab, basically. It was not completely a BSL lab. It was somewhere in between, but BSL-2 lab. We used to take samples. We used to scrape the CAPG samples, the vein sample, used to do PCR and find out the traces of H. pylori in it. But very soon, in a 6 month, and I used to work a lot of on SPSS, the statistical tools, because this was completely, medical studies are very statistically oriented. You have to prove a lot of statistic correlations there. So I said, oh, there is more math into it. So after the probability of genetics, I was introduced to a very good, scientific technique called statistics, biostatistics. And I used to take the data from the patient. So this was not just those, ELISA test or the PCR test which I was doing. Also connecting on a daily basis, I used to go in the wards and collect all the patient data, and used to compile the data and put it in the form of a statistical test. The in charge of the department said, you don't belong here. Okay. So he said, it's okay. We will leave you for 2 months. Okay. Here we have people to work. You go to, you don't go for small time. You stay there for 2 months, and, you approach people and see if you can get. And he said, there is one simple problem, that you don't know how to put yourself forward in front of people. You are a very smart person, but you don't know how to put yourself in front of people. So till now, I can tell you very clearly, it's not, people say, Indian education system is not good. But frankly speaking, it's an Indian education system who has brought a person who don't wanted to study and with a mediocre marks to a position where I am approaching a premier institute for a scientist, and somebody is telling me, please go there and try to approach scientists because you belong there. So I was said, okay. And he also gave me a link to, he introduced me to the HR of that hospital and said, first get your CV revived, because you don't know how to write your CV. So the two things I would, tell from till now to all the people who are going to listen to this particular talk is that, first, know how to present yourself and know how to write your CV properly. That is a very important thing. You need to present yourself everywhere very nicely. And this is how it's not, I'll tell you, I don't know what the Indian education system brought me here. And for me, it is a surprise. I don't know. There are a lot many toppers, the IIT graduates, and I work with them on a daily basis. I've worked with toppers, IIT graduates, JEE toppers. There were interns at a point of a time who were JEE topper, and they are now faculties in India at a certain institute. I trained them into the wet lab and all during my. So I approached for for 1.5 years, I got a project assistantship in Indian Institute of Science. I think that was in a very short stint, so it is not present, so prominently. But I can tell you, I was a first student of Dr. Deepak Saini at Indian Institute of Science. And I was a JRF, and he was just starting a lab. And I went to his lab. He said, I'm just starting off, so you can join me. But right now, I cannot promise you much because I'm starting up. You will get a clarity in few couple of 6 months or something that what I can do with you. I said no problem. I'll start working with you. I worked on a mycobacterium problem there. I worked on a mycobacterium um, uh, signaling system, um, day and night. That was and I was very fortunate that our incoming faculty, in the incoming, the faculty who just incoming in the Indian system is still a postdoc and he teaches you a lot of things. And I can still say that what I learned in his lab for a 1.5 year, I don't know if other student of his are lucky enough to learn the same thing from him, in a coming time in his lab. So it was a really great opportunity for me. But I was not having a fellowship. So Dr. Deepak Seni motivated me a lot that you apply for the fellowship, then only I will be able to give you a PhD. Now imagine a education system, one more education system is trying to uplift me. And this is the beauty of our system. So I during my experiments, day and night experiment, I kept on studying. I completed Laninger, I completed Lodish and couple of small books cover to cover in my science lab. And also the blessing of such institutes, Indian Institute, is that all the people who start, give their presentation, even if it is a student or a faculty, they give you a 15 minutes of introduction to their topic. And I request all the people who get an opportunity to stay in Bangalore or stay near to this institute, they have joined or not joined. Please be very focused to all the scientific talks happening, at least for the first 15 minutes if you don't understand, because this is the basic part of their work which they are going to cover up and you will learn a lot. Till now, I have given a couple of attempts for the net. I was not able to qualify, but with his motivation and few weeks of preparation and 1 week of rigorous preparation, I went and sat and it was very spontaneous. I answered all the questions and voila, I had a fellowship there. The only issue was here is that the years were passing. I had already struggled a lot and time was passing and I had a personal tragedy in my family. So I needed to start very quickly. So another lesson or another, don't get, don't get scared if you have to step down sometime. It's all opportunity. Sometimes it's just a calling and you have to take it. Yes. And it's not a step down. What I'm trying to say is that IISc is a place where you already started your work and it would have converted in your PhD. But at this time I was getting delayed. So, and my interest also moved on to another topic because I wanted to move from my inquisitiveness was asking me to work on the non-disease problems, which is energy. And I wanted to shift. And I also, did not mention that during my botany years in my graduation, I was really fascinated by plant systems. So many of my colleagues got into IT companies at that time. And they asked me what you want to do. And one friend was also sitting in a second year beside me in those duration. I'm just going for the time and telling you that then this is what that time I've decided that I moved into gen. So I just told them that I have heard of a genetics course and biotechnology course in University, Karnataka University, Harvard and Bangalore University and all over Karnataka and other universities. I'll join one of them. And if I lose this seat in a competitiveness, I will take basic botany because that is what I love. So fortunately, I got genetics at that time. But the algae and the energy, the agriculture field have fascinated me for a few times. So I wanted to explore this and also use mathematical calculations, basic mathematical calculations to solve the problem. That was really, and I was a very good at computational part because I was introduced to computers at really early age, and I had done a lot of initial time when we used to have very old computers. That time I used to work on some institutes where I got the exposure to computer techniques and all. So I have seen computers from the time when the mouse never used to be uh, uh, mouse was not used extensively, and we used to use this computer shortcuts and more of that kind of a thing. So, and I had a couple of friends from engineering who taught me that this mouse is not a good thing. You should always work with a keyboard and all those things. So I got in this particular. So these all things came together, and this is a Slumdog Millionaire moment for me. That means the lot of experience gave me a sign that you have a UGC fellowship. There is a field which is inspiring you. Why don't you move to a place where people work on algae or a biochemical engineering problems? And I found a lab, not exactly one lab, but a department, that is biochemical engineering department in National Chemical Laboratory, where Dr. Gadre, Dr. Nene, they used to work in a biochemical engineering. They are also associated with the Serum Institute and some other, Prague and everything. So I went there and explored the place. After that, I took admission in the PhD program. I cleared the interview, CSR interview and everything. I got into that lab, but I changed one lab for that reason, because I explored the lab there. And one place which fascinated me is my PI, Dr. Anu Raghunathan. Her work was really fascinating. Dr. Anu Raghunathan was working on genome scale models. And for the whole time, I was, wondering how a small or a basic calculation and a biology work together to solve the problem. And my cloning and molecular biology experience just made me fit into her lab. The only thing which did not work, that we never went to, we were never, parallel in our thoughts. I was really thinking in a very different way about the research, and she was very different in her approach in the research. So we had really a lot of fights, but I'll tell you, these fights are very important. It asks you to explore yourself. Well, she gave me an opportunity to work. Finally, I did not work on algae, but she had a very fascinating problems in her lab. She wanted to produce some biomolecules from E. coli. I said, fine, I'll develop some strains for it. I developed a couple of strains in her lab, and we started working on them. Very interesting journey. I was introduced to synthetic biology, the new way of, bringing together, and then there were mathematical codes in the computer which we used to take a data and then make do these calculations, and then used to come out of the prediction that what these can stay there. I was in the heaven. Frankly speaking, this is what I was looking for. And I understood I have to work in the area of a technology. So, and also computational problems and this thing. For a small part of IC work, I also worked on GPCR because Dr. Deepak Saini was working on GPCRs. I had a couple of publications from his labs. So I was introduced to GPCR when my PhD work opened. I finished my a PhD. I gave my defense. After that, what I discussed with Dr. Anil, and I said I will apply for the postdoc abroad, and I'll. So I kept applying. Again, one thing is that now the calling comes. The new calling came. And I'm applying to so many labs where I'm interested. I have listed out so many proposals, sending it out, almost 15. It's not working for me. I'm not getting calls and everything. And finally, one of the faculty in the InSTEM, they introduced me that there's an opportunity in Dr. Satyajit Mayer's lab, where your computational skill will be very useful. And also your molecular biology skill, and also your understanding of a GPCR systems. So I gave an interview, and then I joined Dr. Satyajit Mayer. And I was also going to work in a collaborative program in his lab and in one of the lab in Minnesota. The only thing changed everything is the COVID. Okay. And One more thing which changed a lot is that Dr. Mayer observed that I have got a very good set of data in 6 months.
Mhm.
I have understood almost all the microscopy which is in his lab. But he said, I think you are not meant to do this. You are a technology person.
Mhm.
Okay. You have a lot of skills apart from science which are very useful. And COVID hit. I started contributing to the COVID labs to do the testings.
Mhm.
And he introduced me to he advised me to, cCAMP.
Mhm.
He sent my reference there and said, can you talk to the people there? And there is some programs there which are working towards. That time it was an umbrella program. And if you want to serve the purpose and you are a technology person, right now we need a development in a technology for diagnostic technology in India. Why don't you contribute to it?
Mhm.
And just think what happens. Just see what happens. I went there and started testing kids one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And you might have understood, I had just one small stint for a month in Canada in
Mhm.
between during a synthetic, but I did not get any exposure outside India.
Mhm.
And this is all the power of Indian education, I can say. Indian education is very powerful. You have to accept it. You have
Mhm.
to accept it the way it is. And it is a very powerful education system. And it can bring, if you really accept yourself and the education system, you can do wonders.
Abs-
And I started testing these kids and understood the product is not a perfect science.
Mhm.
So all those people who want to make a product and all those people who want to do science are two different people.
Mhm.
Science may not have a closure.
Mhm. Yeah, so true.
Science will not give you closure. Science will always open a new door. So if you are adventurous, you want to, solve more and more problem. You want to reach a stage where you find a holy grail of science and you discover something. Academics is your place. If you are a person who wants closure, you are a technology person.
Mhm.
You want to do something, it cannot be a perfect science. You have to statistically say it can do this much. This is what it can do.
Mhm.
So, you make it for that purpose. And that's the product. It's not a science. So these are the two type of people I clearly demarcate. I am very young in this area to, say this explicitly,
Mhm.
but I can clearly tell you that I found this difference in last 3 or 4 years working in a diagnostic industry now. Not
Mhm.
exactly a diagnostic industry, but we are connected to the more than 250 companies, the
Mhm.
startups and the COVID babies, which we call
Mhm.
the companies, the diagnostic companies who came up during the COVID. These are called COVID babies. We are connected like a network. Let's come to the next stage. You know, the next stage in in the science, what I realize is um, that I cannot keep on doing the testing. I have to
Mhm.
get deeper.
Mhm.
So I discussed with my PI at cCAMP.
Mhm.
I discussed with other leads, and there was a gap
Mhm.
in my program. We don't have a good manager.
Mhm.
So they asked me, are you up to it?
Mhm.
I said, what are my roles? What are my duties? They said, you understand the science
Mhm.
at a PhD level, at a postdoc level, at a scientist level. You're
Mhm.
already a scientist. But to make a product, it is important to understand the timeline at which you are doing it. The
Mhm.
results, the product need to be in the market or available to the government for a government program at a time. Can you do the planning to deliver this?
Mhm.
I had all the qualities which I can do it,
Mhm.
which can do this. I was very good with the large amount of data, the list of data, putting things together, making people aware of when to do and what to do. And to achieve this, I picked up a small program at, online in Coursera, or, and there are several other programs. There are expensive programs also.
Mhm.
That is a project management program. I specifically chose because I can also pay and do so I can recommend many of the people in a life sciences, they can look into the curriculum of, a PMP or other Google or IBM also offers such programs. They
Mhm.
are not that expensive. The PMP is very expensive. I
Mhm.
would recommend go and look at it. You know, it's all about, but the only word of caution I would like say, those who wants to get into technology or technological management, or in a later stage want to, I don't want to say consultant, they
Mhm.
want to become a technocrat. Like a
Mhm.
bureaucrat, you have technocrats.
Mhm.
We endorse that, between the academics and the companies and wherever the science is happening, we endorse, see, these two people can bureaucratically talk and
Mhm.
come up with a solution. This is what our job is. This is
True.
excellent. So there is a lot of graphical representation of, um, of the information which is coming, timelining the things, putting in front of a scientist and see, this is what we need to do in the next month. This
Mhm.
is our priority. You can put this on a back burner, and this you can, and while understanding the science they are doing. Because see, if you say that a scientist cannot do this for 1 month, and they have to do this for 1 month, they really get frustrated.
Yes.
Really put nicely and tell them, this is the priority. Can we give this a priority? So this is really, eye-opening.
Mhm.
So you have to understand how to handle stakeholders,
So,
how to present the timelines,
mhm.
how to process, how to resolve the issue and conflicts, and how to address the delays. And
Mhm.
at the right time, you should be informing your PIs, your your colleagues, your juniors. We are, this is what we are doing good. This is what we are not up to. Let's pick up the thing. So this is a very currently my role,
Mhm.
and this has given me a lot of eye-opening lessons. Believe me, it looks like that my role doesn't directly connect to science, but there is a lot of science to it to understand the
Okay.
speed and pace of this work.
And so this is something which we always say, that once a researcher, always a researcher, and it doesn't
Absolutely.
matter that you are performing experiments at the bench or analyzing the data on the computer. The way
Absolutely.
you have your brain have been trained during the PhD is there
Absolutely.
forever now. Either you are cooking, planning on a trip. This is how everything helps, and that's why
Absolutely.
people say
Completely
that
agree.
PhD is a training for lifetime. You can do
Absolutely.
anything if you have stayed that. With this, we
Absolutely.
say that to the audiences that the guidance and the support in Dr. Mayur's life was so critical. Either it came from parents when he wanted to give up on education, they supported him, or from the mentors who recognized the qualities in him and motivated him so that they can navigate him through his positives. And also, there were critics who told him that what needs to be done. He worked on things, either it is self-presentation or the soft skills, communications, even as he mentioned about writing your CV. And whenever you are talking to people, listening to the talks, all these things are so important for all the researchers. Either you are doing your PhD currently or are postdoc, because the ultimate thing is like either you want to become a faculty or want to go to the industry. Dr. Mayur here gives us the perfect blend of both of those, academia as well as an industry. So now, keeping the timeline in limit, I would like to ask Dr. Mayur that your word of wisdom based on your experience. You shared a beautiful journey of yours, and I'm sure that there are so many people who can correlate with you in more than one ways and will
Mhm.
get motivated after this,
Mhm.
listening to this conversation. What
Mhm.
are the key points which they should, uh, if they are PhD students, how they should prepare themselves for their next stage? If they are postdocs and want to transition into, like, have to make a choice that either they belong, because that is also one of the things which you said, that you should always realize that where you belong. The
Absolutely.
better,
Absolutely.
the sooner the better. So your
Yes.
suggestion for those, them.
Yes. So my first advice, who find themselves in a dilemma of, academic versus other roles, is understand your inner calling. You know, uh, and currently in the life science field, everything was skeleton and muscles till now. There was no circulatory system. Believe me, I have talked with a lot of, leaders in this field till now. And right now, the circulatory system is getting evolved. Lot of positions in the management of education, management of technology, management of clinical studies, management of research itself at one point, like, is coming into picture. Because without the circulatory system, all the PIs are going to work in the isolation.
Mhm.
We will never be able to bring the science uh, into a product, or for that matter also bring this the science, the visibility of Indian science, unless we have this, apart from this skeleton, bone and organ working in isolation. We have to bring this as a single body. And if your inner calling and inner properties are telling you that there is an opportunity, talk to your PIs, you know um, ask them, that do they know these kind of opportunity in their vicinity. They can recommend us, and it is okay. You can also try for, a postdoc outside country. But believe me, if you feel that if it is not working for yourself, because see, there are limited number of core academic research positions available in India, and there are more PhDs coming out.
Mhm.
And India is becoming a ground of research. There is apart from the academic research, there is a lot many positions and connections which are required. So stay connected with your PI and discuss your properties, your inner callings with them. Do I feel, is it necessary to do 3 or 4 years of postdoc even if you are not feeling well? And also, like, one thing I'll say, at some point of, life, you say that the money is not important, and in somewhere in your life you will actually feel that the money is not important.
Mhm.
It is necessary, but it is not the most important. At the same time, it is not necessary that publications are important.
Mhm.
At some point, you will also realize your inner skills are more important than your publications.
Yes.
And when that calling comes, please discuss, spend some time what this role is, and there are online. The only caution I will tell, that lot of courses till now coming from these Google, IBM in the project management, or there are several courses. I am talking about project management because they are programmed for IT and software industry.
Mhm. So true.
Recently,
Mhm.
all the companies have started taking these project managers from IT industry, but it's not working because they don't understand life science.
Life
The
sciences. So true.
people at the interaction of this, who
Mhm.
understand PhD, who understand how basic science work, and then they also understand how to manage the project, because the time scale at which the life science happened and how you can multitask here and versus in the IT industry is very, very different.
So true.
So, always discuss with your PI. Not every student of a PI can become only an academician. Don't think, if your inner calling is asking
Mhm.
to venture into other possibilities, do it early as possible, as
Yeah.
and then figure out if this is good for you, and
Mhm.
don't shy to approach people and figure out, am I good for this role? There are many opportunities who are going to come in the future in this area.
Absolutely.
And people like us are always there to guide you through how things happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. So this with this will say that to all the audience that the key points from the conversation is like listen to your callings. You should know that what makes you happy, what are your core skills, where you really want to be, and having conversation with your PIs is the key to your success and also to the research growth. For all the audience, I'll say that now let's thank Dr. Mayur for sharing the journey and inspiring the new generation, uh, at least giving them a little bit of clarity that where they feel that they are in dilemma, they are not the only one. There are people who have done this hundreds and thousands of times, and you are not the only one. So just listen to your calling, stay focused, and do whatever makes you happy. Thank you, Dr. Mayur, for a great conversation. And for all the audience, will say stay tuned for another episode of Researcher Celebrity. If you want to write to Dr. Mayu, you can write to him directly. If you want Empowering Science Foundation to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, we are there to always help you. The only thing which we want from you is the passion, dedication, and the perseverance. With this, we'll say thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raja. It was great talking to you, this audience.